going to break down what a healthy boundary looks and sounds like so that you can become empowered to protect yourself from abuse. Are you truly setting boundaries, or are you setting yourself up for ongoing abuse? These are two basic questions that really apply to two types of people. The empath, who through their caring, nurturing, giving, understanding, patient demeanor and attitude have major problems establishing and setting boundaries. The other challenge is for anybody who is in any form of relationship at work, romantic, sibling, daughter, parent, father, son, vice versa, all of the variations, who is a narcissist. The narcissist doesn't understand boundaries. And sometimes people think they've set a boundary. And I'm going to break down what a healthy boundary looks and sounds like so that you can become empowered to protect yourself from abuse. My name is Vital Germain. I'm author of the book Pink is the Color of Empathy. I'm a life coach. I specialize in narcissist abuse recovery and empath empowerment. Boundaries. It's a buzzword. We all talk about it. Yes, set boundaries, set boundaries. But unless you are able to set healthy, effective boundaries, you are wasting your time. And I'm going to break it down so that you understand what I mean. So the average person will say, well, I told them no, I told them to stop it, and they just carried on. And as a result of that communication, they're powerless because they have convinced themselves, I set a boundary. You didn't set a boundary, you just said no. A boundary must have consequences. A boundary must have consequences. And in the way that you phrase the boundary and how you respond after if they violate the boundary is what's going to define whether or not you set a healthy boundary. So a healthy boundary will be this. Somebody is yelling at you, for example. They're yelling at you, and you say, stop yelling, stop yelling, stop yelling. You think that's a boundary, but it's not. So you set the boundary. Yes, I told them no. And then what happened? They just kept yelling. And then I told them again, and they just kept yelling. I kept telling them, I set the boundary. I told them stop yelling, and they just kept yelling. So you didn't set the boundary. There was nothing I could do about it. Well, here's the sad news. That's actually not setting a boundary. So here's the big misconception. We think we don't have the power because we've been used to them abusing us. We've been used to them doing with us what they please. And that's become the standard. That's what we're used to. That's what we've become comfortable with. We relinquish the power. However, you always have the power. Sometimes it's not easy to own and claim that power through habit. That's the way it's always been. But you always have the power. It's tough. It's a big decision. It's going to feel very, very uncomfortable, but you have the power. So the boundary is this. If you continue to yell, I will leave this conversation. Now, if they do continue to yell, whether it's immediately or 10 minutes later into the conversation, the minute they yell again, the boundary is the consequence. I warned you, and now I'm walking away. You don't tell them, you just simply walk away. You implement action. You insert the boundary. That's the consequence of them having not listened to your warning. You gave them fair warning. You only give them one warning. If you yell at me one more time, this conversation will end. And then they yell, you just walk away. You don't validate it. You don't say, I told you I was going to walk away, because what they're going to do, they're going to manipulate you. They're going to reel you in. They're going to stop. Okay, I'm sorry. And then they're going to yell again. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to stop. Meanwhile, your boundary has been violated. The second the boundary has not been honored, not been respected, you take action. You set the boundary. You walk away. You ignore them. Now, the reason why this is really important to your well-being is we train people, we educate them, we program them on how we want to be treated. We let them know what we are willing to accept or not. And so you continually not setting that clear boundary, you are telling that person, no matter what you do, I'm going to let you get away with it. It's sad, but we have to enforce communicate very clearly, very decisively how I want to be treated. You are training people to either abuse you or either respect you. Now, let's go one step further with the boundary, because sometimes the boundary, especially with a toxic person, a narcissist, it's repeated bombardment, a repeated testing of your resolve. And they wear you down. And so the only way to address that type of violation is to set the ultimate boundary, which is no contact. No contact. You have now lost access to me. Therefore, by not having access to me, you can no longer violate my boundary. My boundary was set, you violated it, and this is the consequence. Me and you, we no longer talk. You no longer have access to me. And yes, if you're an empath, you're going to be forgiving and you're going to allow them to come back in. You're going to give them another chance. Maybe give them one chance. If you don't stop yelling, I'm going to walk away. And maybe they might make the mistake because they're in the moment, they're passionate. But if it's a repeated action, a repeated behavior that you've seen over time, you now know it's who they are. So stop forgiving them. Stop giving them leeway. Set the boundary. Otherwise, you are in fact, and this is going to be a very hard pill to swallow, if you don't establish the boundary and act upon said boundary with consequences, you now enable the behavior because you're allowing it continually. You are enabling their toxic behavior towards you, which now means you are now responsible. Hard pill to swallow. Accountability is never easy, in particular if you are still in the wounded phase or in the grieving phase, where you need to vent and you need to project the horrible actions of the narcissist, and you are allowed to do that. But at some point, you've got to have accountability and say, yes, I didn't set the clear boundaries. I enabled it. Therefore, moving forward, I am going to change my behavior. And all this that I share with you, it's for your own well-being. It's not about becoming heartless. It's not about becoming cold. It's about protecting you. It's about protecting the essence of your soul. It's about protecting your core values. It's about protecting your emotional, spiritual, intellectual, and even physical health. That's the purpose of the boundary, is to protect you. Changing who you are is not easy. It's a process. As you navigate this journey of transformation into becoming empowered, into setting clear boundaries, into putting the narcissist in their place, you're going to make errors. You're going to slip up. Have empathy for yourself along that journey, always keeping the eye on the goal. I need to set boundaries with consequences, with action. That's always your objective. But again, don't beat yourself up. The narcissist has already done that enough. You don't need to beat yourself up. Go out there. If you need some deeper insights, get the book, Pink is the Color of Empathy. Reach out, connect with me. I do offer coaching, and again, it's a journey, it's a process. Let's connect, find out if I'm the right coach for you and if you are the right client for me. In the meantime, boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. Don't enable, be strong, be firm, because sometimes love is hard. And setting boundaries is sometimes hard love, letting them know this is where you stand in regards to me, and I respect you, because oftentimes the people that abuse us, the sibling, the husband, the wife, the girlfriend, the boyfriend, we love them and we don't want to hurt them. You're not hurting them in the sense that you're coming from a place of malice. You're hurting them to teach them a lesson as to how you deserve to be treated. A boundary must have consequences, 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 consequences.